faithfully sharing value and exploring great books from around the world. Hi, I'm Sally, and in this episode, we're diving into Crossing the Chasm. Its subtitle, Disruptive Products, the Marketing Bible. So, what exactly is a disruptive product? To get into disruptive products, let's start with two key ideas: continuous innovation and discontinuous innovation. Take the 1990s. Folks mostly listened to tunes on cassette players. Then companies miniaturized it into the Walkman, but it still played tapes. That's continuous innovation. It builds on what you're already doing, playing tapes to hear music, so no big changes needed. Fast forward to after 2000, MP3 players hit the scene. Instead of tapes, people downloaded music online. That's discontinuous innovation. It requires big shifts in how we act or the tech we use. The book's author, Geoffrey Moore, dubs this kind of discontinuous innovation disruptive products. Now, how do we convince folks to happily switch their habits and embrace disruptive products? That's precisely what this book tackles. The author thinks it's not tough to win over a niche crowd with disruptive products. Take the iPod. Apple rolled it out in 2001, even though it was Mac only and priced at $399. Yet, diehard fans snapped it up. But winning over the mainstream, that's trickier. By late 2004, the fourth gen iPod hit 10 million sales, finally going mainstream. So the author highlights a massive gap between niche popularity and mainstream success for disruptive products. Crossing that chasm, it's make or break for a product's commercialization and the whole company's fate. And that's why the book's called Crossing the Chasm. Geoffrey Moore, the author, is a big name in Silicon Valley, a top organizational theorist and marketing guru. He runs Geoffrey Moore Consulting, advising giants like HP, Microsoft, and Oracle. And the book? It's packed with real-world cases from his firm. The marketing model proposed by the author has been tested countless times, and its effectiveness is widely recognized in the marketing field. The book was first published in 1991 and sold over 300,000 copies as soon as it hit the market. In 2002, Forbes magazine ranked it 7th among the 20 most influential business books of the late 20th century, solving a major challenge for enterprises, especially high-tech companies. Because high-tech companies have the most discontinuous innovations, and the chasm is a recurring issue in their development path. So, this book is hugely popular in Silicon Valley, where high-tech firms cluster, and is hailed as the marketing Bible by many companies. For instance, IBM executive Tom Kendrick claimed this book's contribution to high-tech marketing far surpasses other related books. In China, former Baidu president Liu Qi has repeatedly cited the book's ideas in public speeches. The book has 7 chapters. In the first 2, the author analyzes how the chasm forms. In chapters 3 to 7, the author outlines methods for companies to cross the chasm. Today's discussion will also unfold from these 2 parts. First, let's cover part 1. How does the chasm arise? Before we dive in, I'd like you to answer a few questions. We all know electric vehicles are booming. So, have you bought one? If you did, when did you buy it? If you chose a gasoline car when purchasing, why was that? Your answers help gauge your acceptance of disruptive products and pinpoint which consumer type you are. This ties into the classic technology adoption lifecycle model developed by a renowned American communication theorist. Proposed by Everett Rogers in 1973, this model categorizes consumers into 5 groups: innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. Now, I'll walk you through each one. If you followed electric vehicle news before mass production and were among the first buyers after launch, you're an innovator. Because you actively chase disruptive products, constantly trying new things. It's your biggest joy in life. If 1 or 2 years after electric vehicles were mass produced, you had a solid grasp of the technology, then you're an early adopter. Despite drawbacks like system instability and slow charging at this stage, these issues don't deter you because you believe the future of the auto market belongs to electric vehicles. If you bought when EV brands were everywhere, tech was mature, reviews flooded the market, and industry benchmarks existed, choosing the most recognized model. Mm-hmm.
Then your early majority. Lots share this mindset, about 1/3 of the market.
If you haven't bought yet because the tech feels immature with safety risks, you'll wait until most people adopt EVs. When tech matures and infrastructure improves, most importantly, prices will drop. Then your late majority, also about 1/3 market share. But if you're a diehard gasoline supporter, only considering EVs if banned or gas stations vanish, you're a laggard. Technology. The adoption life cycle model represents business's ideal path. First, win over the trailblazers. Build reputation in niche circles, then gain mainstream acceptance. Finally, most people use the product until even the most stubborn buy in. Pre-book, most marketing strategies relied on this model, creating bandwagon effects where later groups follow earlier adopters. But the author argues this model is overly idealized. Reality differs. For example, Apple fans rush to buy new products immediately. If you're not a fan, would you follow their lead? Probably not. Even if you buy later, it's not because of fans. Showing bandwagon effects only work within groups. Why? Let's examine the author's analysis. Using the technology adoption lifecycle, the author groups 5 consumer categories into 3 markets: early, mainstream, and laggard. The early market consists mainly of innovators and early adopters, led by the early adopters. Because early adopters provide most orders at this stage, the mainstream market includes early and late majority. They make up 2/3 of consumers, forming businesses' main revenue source and crucial target group. The laggard market refers to the hardest group to win over. The author believes cracks exist within and between markets. These refine the model and help businesses understand markets better. First, internal market cracks. In the early market, a gap exists between innovators and early adopters regarding disruptive products. Even with cutting-edge concepts that win over innovators, without practical applications, early adopters won't embrace it. Take EVs. No gas, just charging, eco-friendly and advanced, appealing to innovators.
But if EVs lack fast charging, that green concept can't materialize.
Hence, acceptance among early adopters remains low. Similarly, in the mainstream market, a crack exists between early and late majority. Even with nearly 1/3 using a product, many still resist trying it. Reasons vary. High prices or complex operation, for instance.
Take late majority hesitating on EVs. Incomplete infrastructure and steep prices hold them back.
The author thinks businesses can fill internal cracks through timely strategy adjustments. For example, in early markets, refine features via user feedback or showcase unique functions in early adopter forums to attract them. In mainstream markets, attract late majority via price cuts or simplified OS. But the crack between early adopters and early majority spans different markets. The author argues this crack is wide and deep, dubbed the chasm, the book's core focus. If a company can't cross this chasm, it means they can't break into the mainstream market, and failure likely follows. So, how exactly does this chasm form? It's because early adopters and the early majority have completely different buying logic. Early adopters constantly track tech trends, both from genuine interest and seeing disruptive products' long-term value. Take Sheldon Labe, head of IT at PricewaterhouseCoopers. He's a classic early adopter. Back in the early 1980s, Lotus Software designed cutting-edge office software. Before testing even finished, Sheldon committed to buying 10,000 copies to upgrade PwC's systems. Why? It handled budgeting, sales forecasting, project tracking, super advanced tech for its time. Sheldon wanted advanced tech to simplify data management. Plus, early adopters tolerate minor glitches in disruptive products.
After all, new products inevitably have flaws, but the early majority? Totally different. They're super cautious.
They weren't tech progress but weren't personally troubleshoot repeated failures. Once they choose a product, they expect seamless operation and integration with existing tech. Say they buy new office software, it must work with their current computers. In short, win over the early majority by showing risks are manageable, In the 1980s, IBM dominated databases, yet Oracle broke through because of superior compatibility. IBM's database only worked with Windows, but Oracle worked across systems, winning the early majority. The early majority has another trait. They want to see reasonable competition. Competition means lower prices and backup options if things go wrong.
Most importantly, competition ensures they're buying the market-leading product.
Market leaders attract third-party support. Like when Lotus succeeded, most computers became compatible. In short, early adopters rush to use disruptive products, but the early majority takes it slow and compares options. Early adopters chase new tech, the early majority waits for stable results, and they don't communicate effectively. Early adopters' opinions stay in niche circles, failing to influence the early majority. The early majority seeks more info for decisions but doesn't know who to ask. That wraps part one.
How does the chasm form?
First, we covered the 5 consumer groups in the technology adoption life cycle: innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. The author notes these groups aren't continuous. Cracks exist between them. Building on this model, he groups them into 3 markets: early, mainstream, and laggard. The crack between early and mainstream markets, wide and deep, the formidable chasm. The author argues crossing this chasm, creating mainstream appeal, is key to business success. That brings us to part 2. Our focus now. For businesses, winning the early majority isn't just entry, it's sustaining market dominance. The author compares crossing the chasm to the D-Day invasion. On June 6, 1944, Allies crossed the English Channel, landed in Normandy, and reclaimed Europe from Germany. Similarly, businesses aiming to cross the chasm target mainstream market control as their ultimate objective. This mainstream market is like Europe back then, but it's controlled by powerful competitors.
In Germany's hands!
To enter this market, the immediate goal is finding a blank market, a Normandy beachhead. The current obstacle is the chasm, the English Channel, requiring concentrated forces advancing toward a single objective. Once this blank market is captured, seize the moment to take other segments, other territories of France, until achieving dominance over the entire mainstream market. In summary, successfully crossing the chasm involves 5 steps. First, aim at the target. Identify a specific blank market as your foothold. Second, concentrate all resources to build a complete product. Third, develop a strategy, creating unique differentiation. Proactively initiate competition, telling consumers your product is optimal. Fourth, formally launch entry through strong sales tactics and reasonable pricing. Finally, review and reverse, plug gaps, and prevent problems at their root. Now, I'll explain each step one by one. Step 1 is aiming the target, identifying a specific blank market. As a business leader, segment potential customers into distinct markets, evaluate each thoroughly to pinpoint the right blank market. 2 key points when evaluating markets. First, the market must be completely blank. If a competitor with similar products exists, they've already exploited all advantages. In this case, leaders must decisively abandon it and seek alternatives. Second, the market must be small enough for the company to be a big fish in a small pond. Because unique leadership builds strong word of mouth, helping enter other markets, in modern terms, that's breaking out of the bubble. The book gives an example of successfully breaking out through precise targeting. In 1993, document management software company Documentum existed. Despite excellent software, its annual revenue stalled at $3 million for 3 years, struggling to expand. Clearly, this company was stuck in the chasm. After taking over, new manager Jeff Miller conducted deep research and targeted the pharmaceutical industry. Because pharmaceutical companies face a critical yet tedious task, compiling new drug approval materials. Typically, when launching new drugs, companies must submit applications to over 100 global regulatory agencies.
Applications are incredibly complex, 250 to 500 pages each, requiring nearly a year of preparation before submission.
This grueling process is a nightmare for staff. It also drains massive costs from pharma companies. Documentum identified this unique blank market, providing document management services to pharma firms. Its software covered modules like clinical trials, R&D, production, quality control, and drug safety. It also enabled rapid search, identification, and submission during access and operations. Just like that, Documentum became the big fish in that small pond. Over 30 of America's top 40 pharmaceutical companies used Documentum. Revenue skyrocketed from 3M to 25M annually. Success in pharma opened doors to the oil industry. The document tool suited complex refinery management equally well. Oil success caught Wall Street investors' attention. They saw how it could manage financial operations better. And just like that, Documentum entered the financial sector. Next, step 2. Concentrate all resources to build a competitive product. The author argues a competitive product includes installation, training, after-sales service, even third-party products. This advice stems from a core difference. Early adopters customize products to their interests, but the early majority expects a complete, ready-to-use solution, minimizing disruption. Take Savvy Corporation. In 1992, their flagship product was an inventory tracking system. Its core was RFID tags. Scanning them revealed container locations and contents instantly.
At the time, this cutting-edge system won them a U.S. military contract.
But how did Savvy break into the mainstream market? Targeting shipyards, where mountains of goods awaited shipment, became their strategic foothold. To serve shipyards fully, Savvy bundled the tracking system with complementary products. They provided trailers for container transport, tag application deep in yards, plus walkie-talkies for supervisor-driver communication. Complex system? Savvy offered on-site training and guidance for smooth staff adoption. Savvy delivered far beyond hardware. They provided turnkey solutions. This complete package strategy successfully unlocked the mainstream market. Today, Savvy manages complex supply chains for packaging giants, pharma firms, and the U.S. Department of Defense. With products customized, market entry begins. Bringing us to step 3. Crafting strategy, compete with rivals and defeat them. Crucially, the author urges proactive competition to cross the chasm. Recall, the early majority thrives on competitive dynamics. They only commit when stable competition produces a clear market leader. Competition requires finesse. Benchmark against a rival, then create unique differentiation. Then convince users your product is the optimal choice. Consider Intuit, now a multi-billion-dollar company, who crossed the chasm with Quicken personal finance software. When launching Quicken in 1988, its main competitor was the popular Managing Your Money software. This software offered investment portfolio analysis and let users model custom financial plans. Intuit carved out differentiated positioning, making bill payments simpler. Since people paid mainly with checks, Intuit developed a printing system for easy home check printing. It also recorded check details, tracked spending, and helped with personal taxes, simplifying money management. Unlike competitors focused on investing, Intuit positioned for household finance, winning 70% market share. After strategy comes step 4, the formal invasion launch. Invasion has 2 key aspects, starting with sales approach. What works best? The author argues direct sales teams outperform distributors. Why? 2 critical factors for sales channels: building relationships with target customers and adapting products to their needs. Direct sales excel at both. First, direct teams build customer relationships, unachievable through distributors. Second, they rapidly respond to customer feedback, refining products through ongoing dialogue. History proves this true. Direct sales dominate high-tech successes, IBM being prime example. IBM's direct sales mastery fueled its 1970s to 80s market leadership. HP, Oracle, SAP, and Cisco also thrived through direct sales. For sales teams, hire senior executives from target customer industries to deepen market insight. Example, recruit logistics executives when targeting logistics firms. Post-Chasm, diversify with distributors or partnerships for broader reach. Another example, selling online targets niche customers who frequent specialized forums or websites. These channels can yield solid results too. With sales methods set, next is pricing. What's the right price point? First, don't price too high. Can products sell at this level? But don't go too low either. Is it still worth selling at this price? Generally, the early majority isn't highly price sensitive. They'll pay premiums for top quality or special services. Product premium refers to the price portion exceeding normal market rates. So, the author advises positioning as market leader and pricing with a strategic premium. Per research, the early majority accepts premiums up to 30%, securing profits while leaving room to reward expanded channels post-Chasm. But is this foolproof? The author cautions, this battle plan needs rigorous scrutiny. Hence step 5, reverse engineering and gap fixing. Here, companies address two areas, careful financing and timely team restructuring. First, careful financing, provisions before troops march. As the saying goes, businesses must secure ample funds to cross the chasm. Yet many neglect this, rooted in undervaluing profitability. In early markets, companies chase growth over profits. Investors fund them precisely for rapid growth potential. But both ignore the chasm. Growth stalls after early market saturation. If investor funds deplete, then companies face crisis. On this, the author offers two recommendations. First, prioritize profitability from day one. Sustain operations without reckless spending. If you're a hardware company like Cisco, avoid overproduction. Align output with actual sales. Don't blindly splurge on ads. Use product launches and expert workshops for targeted outreach. And avoid hiring distributors with inflated commissions. It risks huge expenses without orders. Second, secure early market dominance and develop your whole product before fundraising. This ensures all raised funds fuel your chasm crossing efforts.
Crucially, never exhaust funds during the chasm phase. Avoid operational paralysis.
Now, beyond financing, timely team restructuring. With flawed commanders, winning the battle becomes near impossible. Leaders must recognize early and mainstream markets demand entirely different talents. Early markets are product-driven. Great tech attracts innovation-hungry users. Thus, early market sales teams need deep technical or product knowledge. They understand early adopters' desire for breakthroughs and leverage this to secure orders. But mainstream markets require market-driven approaches, customer interviews, and research to identify real needs. Core products take a back seat. Focus shifts to building integrated solutions. Like Savvy, their scanning system became secondary. Trailers, walkie-talkies, and training became key selling points. Marketing now focuses beyond core products, identifying and fulfilling peripheral customer needs. Fundamentally, the marketing department's focus should shift from selling products to building relationships. Therefore, when planning to cross the chasm, companies must restructure teams, relying less on early market product specialists and more on talent skilled in holistic product marketing. All right, that covers today's key content. Beyond this book, the author wrote 2 sequels, Inside the Tornado and Living on the Fault Line. These further refine how businesses should craft marketing strategies. Inside the Tornado covers marketing during rapid expansion, while Living on the Fault Line details how incumbent leaders tackle new tech challenges. I was following nominated.
Despite 40 years since publication, the chasm theory remains valid. It's built on consumer psychology and mental models.
Disruptive products may evolve, but consumer decision-making psychology stays consistent. Marketing's essence lies in understanding human nature and capturing hearts. This concludes our interpretation of Crossing the Chasm. Reading notes are below the audio. See you next time.